Welcome, everyone, to San Antonio by Night, Hurricane Season, Episode 10. Last we left off, Urian and Amber were collectively taking stock of what it is that they needed to do with the Thin Bloods in their care in order to get them set back up since Club Lush had sadly burned to the ground. And so, the the two ventured off into the sanctuary domain, and with a bit of effort, such as slashing open a mortal, and delivering them to a nearby clinic, they have successfully gotten themselves into the good graces of a man named Travis Anderson, a doctor at this clinic, who thankfully had the assistance of Doc, a master surgeon, to assist him in getting this person stable enough to then go to the hospital. As a result, the coterie now is set to speak with Dr. Anderson and his business partner to dig that knife a little deeper. Amber, it seems as if that you had a bit of a eureka moment in realizing how it is that you could easily sway people. Why don't you give us a little bit of insight as to how that felt and what your plan is going forward?
Truly, I had been too relaxed with the use of my gifts, shall I put it. I've been so cautious against using them, as Urian put it, all too bluntly. I'm a predator. I've been running around trying to act like I was something better than what I am. And I suppose in that, I found that no, I should just start more heavily slamming these things. Use my preternatural wiles more often. And to greater effect, obviously. And I suppose it's a bit of a double-edged sword. It's both equally liberating, but feels like I put a bit of a distance between myself and I suppose what my image is of being not what I am. But I suppose we don't really have time for such delusions anymore. War is upon us. I suppose it's time to wake up.
Yes, indeed. Right now, with the threat of Ancilla from elsewhere coming into the city, one has to be prepared for the greater need for attacks from different fronts. Because, let's be honest, the three of you are not muscle. Not in the
I'm the
slightest.
most I'm the most physically capable one out of the three of us, and if that's the case, well, on that front, we're all fucked.
Velda, you've been experiencing a similar reaction. though from a different source, maybe. You've been spending a lot of time with Isabella Castile, the mentor to Benji.
Yes. She's been an interesting tutor, focusing very much on the fact that I don't use my skills anywhere near enough. And perhaps I need to do some rethinking on my morals. But with that out of the way, who knows what could be achieved? Now it's a matter of increasing my influence, putting my toes in the business world.
One does have to be careful lest they fall and down that slippery slope that is the beast.
Indeed.
I suppose there's a usefulness to morality. But that leaves us with Yorian. The man with a plan, the one who seems to have settled himself into the position of wartime baron for this domain. The man who used to be a prince, now a Tremere. And perhaps needs to delve into the things that are a little bit more Urian's shtick than Marius. How does that make you feel, Mr. Doyle?
Often replicated, never duplicated. Well, truth of the matter is that I have larger aims to end up focusing on. I've been very fixated on the airport, the last bastion to knowledge of Camarilla influence in this city worth the mention. Beneath it are ley lines that spread throughout the city. Urianville Sire is upon it. Well, I think it's about time to end up dealing with it. I've been plotting around the ley lines and finding what I can to make them useful. I believe they're the inn that we require. Still, I suspect I will be visited by Baron Jameson soon after. After all, I ended up giving him and his barony the answers they required. I have no doubt he'll be enlisting my help for such things. Forced me on war on two fronts. It is best to crush one side decisively and bring it back to one front. Amber and Velda are involving themselves in smaller projects in the city, but no less important. Everyone else is worried on what will happen after this war is over. They're worried that when this war will be over. Very few of them focused on the aftermath, how things will recover. I intend to make sure that when it's all said and done, the city will be built by my design.
That indeed. And as we join our coterie on this rainy October afternoon, I would like you all to make rouse checks.
Oh boy, rouse check.
Velda and Amber, you thankfully don't have to worry too much about getting hungrier. Although, Amber, you're skirting that line very thinly between bleeding profusely and causing a ruckus
No.
everywhere you go.
No.
No?
Remember, I fed 2 off of Mr. Edison last night.
That's right.
I am currently at hunger 1 and feeling great. Seems like this awakening has calmed that little voice in the back of my head down quite a large amount. Finally gone, yes, this is what I've been trying to tell you for the past 5 fucking years.
Beautiful. Velda, where's your hunger tonight?
Single dot.
Auriurian, you're not so lucky.
3 hunger. Last night was taxing.
And it's going to be ever more taxing on that frail body of yours.
Yes. Not a fan of it, but that's the truth. Denying it is just a little.
And so, the 3 of you have gathered at the meeting place, where Benji has also arrived. Feeling a little bit like he's late, as one tends to do when they have other business to attend to during the evening, but he's also joined you.
Evening, Benji. So glad you could eventually make it.
Yeah, been a little bit busy. But yeah, I'm here.
Busy with what? At this point.
Isabella's been having me do some things, kind of looking into that airport for a bit. Not sure if I've gathered anything useful, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Right. So what is everybody else up to today?
Ladies, by all means, inform them.
Well, I for one have been dipping my fingers and toes into the business world. Isabella's been rather helpful. She's taught me quite a number of things. It's amazing what one can learn in 2 nights.
As for myself, I have a meeting upcoming with a doctor and his business partner about getting somewhere new for the Thin Bloods to rest and make their way.
Sweet. Yeah, it's a real shame that the club burned down.
It's a real shame.
What? I don't understand what your tone is, Urian.
Whatever do you mean, Mr. Cortez?
Alright.
I think he means that you sound a little sarcastic.
What? Okay.
Or at least that's what I picked.
Wait, did I sound sarcastic or Urian does?
No, Urian.
Well, I can run across some information that might be of interest to you, Angie, but at this point I don't wish to distract you any further than you already are.
Okay. Maybe later then.
If
I mean, I'm
that's what
not
you wish.
easily distracted by many things.
Focus on your tasks. If you have nothing to report, then you have nothing to report.
Well, I've been poking
What have you
around,
been up to?
without causing a fuss. They have some serious backup up there at this point.
Such as?
Well, security's obviously tightened up a bit, but, I met somebody. They seemed to know where I was going and could kind of sneak up on me. And I suppose that they suspect that I'm weird being there. I suspect they're kindred. I don't know exactly, but some biker looking chick seemed a little bit nutty.
Does this sound familiar to me at all?
Unless you're familiar with out-of-towners.
It'd be more difficult.
It'd be a pretty difficult role, so... And with
Wait
that Vega...
until we get a visual or a name.
Yeah, she wouldn't tell me her name when I confronted her about it. So I just kind of left her be.
Smart.
Yeah, I figure we're not trying to cause a ruckus right now, right? We're kind of...
No, I mean her not giving you her name. You didn't give her your name, did you?
No.
Good.
Good.
I was trying to be just as nonchalant as it gets, but
You're not exactly nonchalant, Benji.
you know, I try. I really try. I'm learning.
We
You
all are.
haven't caused a masquerade breach in the past 48 hours. I'm considering that a high accomplishment at this point. Given
Ooh.
how other things have been going.
Okay.
He tries to not let his eyes go towards Amber at that point.
That's a little bit of a low blow. I tend to be fairly quiet about a lot of things, thank you.
Amber doesn't make any outward response. She's just keeping as she was and continuing to listen to the conversation, chiming in as need be.
Complete on with
So
your task. Oh, by all means, Felder.
No, after you. I'd like to hear what you have to say.
I have a task for Benji. Once he has completed this one, I think he'll be far more accustomed to. And one that will prove to be far more interesting.
He just kind of cocks a brow at you. Okay. Cool.
consider it a payment should you prove to be useful here. But at this point, I've not received any word that we can act upon. Disappointingly so, but I maintain hope and optimism.
Okay. Alright.
Suffice it to say, Benji, you're on the clock.
Cool.
Time is running out for this opportunity that I'm sure you would be jumping for joy at the moment that you receive it. Till then, let the mystery remain.
That's gonna fucking bug me until you tell me. But, you know, maybe there's something to be said about surprises.
Something like that.
Okay. Cool. Well,
Get me information we can act upon. There is no kindred out.
I mean, I don't
Find
doubt
what-
that there's several, if I'm honest. Because, like, it just kind of seems out of nowhere. I don't remember the airport being that locked down. Not like this, anyway. Not since I've been here. That
Thank
creepy
you for
vibe
your
where you feel like everybody's watching you, but you look around and you don't see anything. Because, like, I do that, and there's nothing there.
So you say. Well, thank you very much, Benji. It will be taken under advisement.
Cool. Neat.
Is there any chance that I can use premonition on the airport?
You may, but I'm going to set the difficulty for anything of value at a fairly high level, so like 4+.
Yeah, I was expecting that.
So if you would
So
like
I
to
do
rouse
believe-
and do premonition, you may.
I think I will. That's a resolve plus discipline?
Yes, I believe that's resolve discipline.
All specs to me.
Any modifiers?
No, just flat. So you sit and you concentrate. You have 2 successes. Are you gonna want to willpower that, or?
Yes, I think I will. Oops. That's not what I wanted. Hitting the wrong buttons. There we go. Do I have 3 dice to re-roll for that one?
Yes, you do.
Ooh.
Damn it. Damn it.
You focus and take a moment, and you're in an amber. You notice that Velda just kind of shuts her eyes for a moment and goes still. You try to see if there's anything as far as a lead, but you're slightly distracted. When you try to focus in on the place, it's as if the image can't sit still. Like anytime you try to focus in on the building itself, your vision moves. You try to focus and move it back to the building, but every time you do, it seems as if it's just drawn to someplace else.
Can I follow that trail as to where it's drawn?
You find yourself in that moment unable to focus very deeply on it. It's erratic. It's as if the universe isn't really cooperating with you at the moment. It
Okay.
seems to kind of hover around the general area, but for some reason you can't focus.
Interesting. I can't seem to... How do I put it? Get mental purchase on the place. I wonder if there might be something else at play. Blocking external sights. You did mention that you that you felt like eyes were upon you, Benji, didn't you?
I mean, that's a common occurrence at this point, but definitely there. You know, invisible people.
Invisible people.
Just gives you the heebie-jeebies.
I feel like I'm getting rather used to invisible people. Helps that the invisible people have trouble hiding from my sight. That being said,
That's good to know.
I'm not sure if it's just me or if it's the place, but as I said, I can't get mental purchase on it. Might be something worth looking into.
So who's going to the airport?
I'm going to need to go at some point. May as well.
I mean, if that's the what we're doing, right?
But right now, it's no risk. I'll be sure to be bringing a particular group
Ah,
with me. You will end up joining me in this as a retinue.
mm. Amber, you know that you have that meeting first thing tonight.
Yeah.
The fact that you've deviated and come and had a conversation has put you back about an hour.
Yes, I have a meeting that's very important that I must attend on the matter of things that were happening last night. If it's feasible, I'd like to go and do that, and I can meet you as soon as I'm finished. Yep. Did that come through?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't hear any response, that's all.
Benji was kind of looking back and forth at everybody, just waiting to see if somebody would respond.
Well, let us get going then.
Hmm.
Make contact to the low birth solution. Specifically, Carlos, Doc, and Alfonso. At this point, we're going to need more muscle than anything.
Yeah, I can do that, and I will meet with these two doctors to get this information and get the roots in this clinic, so that said low birth solution has a place to start funneling through the funds. And Amber can start making the requisite calls.
Alright. Urian stands, looks to Velda. You have your end handled.
Of course.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to hearing the results. And Amber, I hope that you will take to heart what was demonstrated last night.
Yeah.
Alright. He gives an address to be meeting up, since within the safety of his domain, but getting closer to the aforementioned airport.
Inside what used to be Delgado's domain, you would know that that is Randy's turf, getting close to Castle Hills. And so you set everyone up to gather there and make your way towards the airport as quickly as you can, supposedly. Meanwhile, Amber, you have a dinner date.
I do, and so I'll be setting off those notes for Carlos, Alfonso, and Doc to meet up with Urian. But it would be better to have someone with me. How's Fox doing at the moment?
You would know that sustaining the injuries they sustained from the burning of Club Lush were serious enough and seemed to not be able to recover like any other kindred. They're spending time recovering much as a human would from that kind of injury.
Right, because I was just gonna bring him along, and I can't bring, have another associate with me. But considering I can't bring Gabe along for obvious reasons, I suppose it'll just have to be me going alone. Unless the business-minded Velda wishes to come and help. Because...
Well, I don't know what you're doing.
It is a dinner date.
With who?
With Dr. Anderson and Dr. Douglas to get this, to get the low birth solution into this clinic, and later on into the whole building, to use that as a funneling for income.
Sure, I'll go along.
To replace Club Lush. And I mean, you said you wanted to get your toes into the business scene. What better way to help supply that?
Very well, I'll come along then. You've talked me into it.
Wonderful. And as such, that's where we will be going.
All right. So the two of you going together to Amber's dinner date, which is more of a business dinner date, all things considered. And so, these two very beautiful Toreador ladies make their way toward a restaurant in the vicinity of the clinic. It's a nice place. There's outdoor seating and indoor seating. It looks like primarily, though, it has outdoor seating with ambient lights. It looks like their primary focus is on entertaining at night. It's not super upscale, but it's not terrible to look at either. It's decent. It's not nice, but it's decent.
Quaint. That's the word. It's quaint.
Quaint. Exactly. And when the two of you arrive, unless there's something you'd like to say to each other on the ride there.
Not
Amber
particularly.
Amber will probably fill Velda in on what actually happened last night, but otherwise, no.
Okay. And when you get there, you see that the two gentlemen, the one gentleman that you know, and another, are already sitting at a table. One being Travis Anderson, the man you met at the clinic last night,
Yes, met at the clinic.
and an older gentleman who seems to be maybe of Hispanic descent, a little older, a little gray in the beard, wearing a sports jacket and a turtleneck. And Travis is wearing something similar, nothing too fancy. Meanwhile, what are the two of you wearing?
That is a good question. So many things to choose from.
You certainly have your pick of cocktail dresses, Amber.
The cocktail dress doesn't seem like a bad pick for a place like this, actually. Especially since they specialize in night entertainment.
Velda.
Hmm. Probably a black pencil skirt with this wonderful lacy bodice.
Something a little more modest than Amber, it looks like.
Oh no, not at all.
No?
Simply different kinds of showing off.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll show you the idea for what she's wearing in the Coterie Harem chat.
Alright. And so, the two of you walk into the seating area, and when Travis and what you assume to be Dr. Douglas see you approaching, they do stand up. And Travis gives you a warm smile and says, "Ah, Amber, Miss Dupree, it's a pleasure to see you again. And who is this?"
Ah, yes, Dr. Anderson. It's so good to see you again. And Dr. Douglas, I presume?
Yes, I am Dr. Douglas. Greg Douglas.
It is a pleasure to meet you. This is
Pleasure.
Velda, a business associate of mine.
Ah, it's a pleasure.
Pleasure to meet you both.
I'm sorry, Velda. What?
Velda von Svenka zu Altenberg. Just call me Velda.
And Greg just gives you a smile. All right. Foreign?
Romanian.
Aha. I'm not well versed in that kind of thing, but it's interesting. It's lengthy, but that should be all right. Please sit down.
Yes, yes. And
Thank you.
and come and sit.
Hmm.
And no, I won't do that just yet. No, I was most definitely interested in talking business with you, gentlemen.
Yes, you down to business then, Greg says with a smile. Well, the proposal is that you want to join the practice?
In a sense, yes.
I'm sorry.
I have
As a business partner, as a doctor?
as a business partner offering an associate of mine and her surgical expertise.
Right. And she's not here tonight?
No, unfortunately, she had a personal emergency come up and she couldn't join us. But she sends her
That's
regards.
unfortunate. Alright. Alright. And she's given you permission to speak on her behalf then?
She has.
Okay. All of this is going to obviously be formalized in writing.
Of course.
Alright. Okay. So what are you proposing exactly?
I am proposing that the offering of this talent and her services to the practice, and for myself to come in a management role, such that you two wonderful fellows can focus on your good work without having to worry about all of the, how you would say, mundane drollness of running a business. And I'm gonna pop all there.
Okay. You definitely see that both of them have your undivided you have their undivided attention at this point. They're not even bothering to look at Velda for the moment. For both of them. And Greg says, "Oh, okay. What are your credentials?"
I have quite a large amount of experience in dealing with business management. You see, I used to do quite a bit of freelance modeling, and before that, I worked for an agency. And when you do freelance modeling, you kind of learn to become your own business. You know, you do all your HR, PR, advertising, marketing,
Do you have
logistics management, and everything, but on your own.
Okay. Do you have social media? I'd like to look into that.
I do. And Amber will list off her safe for work socials.
Okay. And then a waiter does come by the table to take everyone's order. Amber and Velda, do you order any food?
Yes.
Yeah, I will as well, and I'll rouse so that I can actually eat.
Same.
Okay. Okay. And both of you don't get any hungrier for the desire to let rancid, ashy food sit in your stomach for about an hour. So, the waiter takes your food and drink orders, and Greg kind of pulls out his phone and starts to surf your socials a little bit, sees the amount, looking for himself, the amount of engagement that you've been able to drum up, and kind of keeps to himself for a little bit there. Travis, however, hasn't really taken his eyes off you.
Yeah, I bet he hasn't.
Greg will occasionally pipe up and make a comment about the different things. Asks you about your how much revenue you make, and what your social media presence would do for his business. If you're posting this much and getting this much engagement, he's kind of asking you if you are a professional in social media.
I would consider myself as such. As I said, from the line of work I've just come from, you kind of have to be. You don't, it's just you, there's no one else. And so you need to learn to become a one-man or one-woman business.
And you've done all this on your own.
For the last little while, yeah.
Impressive. You've got certainly an interesting social media portfolio. And Miss Velda, what would you be bringing to the table?
Much the same, although at the moment I'm just here for moral support for Amber.
Ah, okay. Then,
Although, if you would like me involved, I certainly wouldn't mind it. And she flashes him a grin and also pops awe.
and he grins back at you, kind of giving you a bit of a winning smile.
Would you like me to add my looks modifier to that awe roll?
I'm not asking you for a roll just yet.
Okay.
So he looks at the both of you, kind of focusing his attention on Velda right now, and says, "And you would offer these services in exchange for what exactly? Stake in the company?"
Of course.
We're not exactly looking for investors.
Not yet. But it's always good to get ahead of the game, no?
Ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Medicine's always a growing field. And,
That's exactly right.
and having
But you don't
private-
want to remain a small practice forever.
The nice thing about being a small practice without a hospital overhead is that a substantial amount of the income does go directly to the both of us. If we were to add your services without increasing the income, you could see where all of us would suffer.
Oh, very, very much so. But you see, when Velda says getting ahead of the game, you are a practice, but there are other ways to expand in the medical field without necessarily having an hospital overhead. For example, medical research and development.
Which is primarily done at the UT Health Science Center. There's no way we can compete with that.
Not on a teaching level, no.
Not on a research level either.
Well, you see, that's where I think with the right injections of time and resources here and there, I think you very well could. And you would have neither a university or a health overhead, and would open you up to, say, taking a training license in the future if you did wish to train people at the expanded facilities once they were available. And those who there's a lot of money to be made in education. A lot of people always wanting to learn. And
Yes.
especially in medical education, because now more than ever we need more doctors in the world.
Amber, I would like you to make me a manipulation persuasion
And
plus
I
your
will
awe.
add- Yep. Do I get my
May
looks on
I
that one or no?
assist in that?
You've contributed to the conversation a little bit, but Amber's been doing a lot of the quote selling.
Yeah.
So I'll just go, yeah, and looks merit is charisma only, so boom. Oh, that's 9.
That is a 9.
Hold on. Do I dare? You know what? I'm gonna go for it.
You're gonna
I'm
go
gonna
for the
spend
double
a
crit.
willpower.
Go for broke.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Go
go
for
for the
broke.
double. I'm gonna go for the double crit. No dice, but that's still 9.
Fair enough. All right. So you can see plain as day that every little bit of this is kind of cracking a little bit of that business veneer on him, and you swear that if you're judging it correctly, they are hurting. They're hurting for income. They're hurting because of a number of things. It could be anything. It could be the prices are too high on the equipment that they need. It could be that medications that they offer in-house are just too expensive. It could be any number of things. And when walking up to this building, you realize that both of them are not driving fancy cars. You didn't see any fancy cars in this parking lot. You would swear that
The fanciest cars are probably mine.
the fanciest car is your Skyline in that parking lot.
That's...
They're maybe taking home, out of the two of them, middle class at best. You would expect triple digits,
That's a
6 figures.
That's a real shame that's a case. And Amber clasps her hands and leans forward a little bit. You know, that's thinking about the future. Why don't we think about the now?
The now.
Yes, the now.
Okay.
I'm sure there is so much that you would wish to do with the practice that you don't have the ability to due to lack of resources. Would I be correct in assuming this?
You see the both of them look at each other. Travis shrugs and shakes his head, as if Greg was looking at him, asking him, "Did you say something?" And the two of them both look at you, Amber, since you're the one doing a lot of the conversation here.
Yeah.
And Greg leans in and speaks kind of softly. We could use a boost, but we don't have the resources to pay.
Hmm. I, I figured that might be the case. Because you see, when I look at you two, I see two wonderful doctors with the spark of ambition behind their eyes. You want to help more people. You want to make things easier to access for those who need it the most. But I can also tell that that spark is a little muted by the fact that, well, the one thing required to do that simply is a little lacking. And I'd like to help with that. In fact, I could think of a couple of ways that I may be able to do such things. For starters, the building that you're in,
Mhm.
because that's a big part of running a business, the real estate. Who runs that building?
Uh, and he'd spout off a random name to you.
Hmm. Would you have contact details for these people? If we're going to be working together, I would also like to meet the others who end up having to go through the logistical pipeline. You know what I mean?
Certainly. And he kind of pulls a napkin and pulls out a pen and gives you their name and contact phone number.
And fold it up and put it in the bodice, in the to kind of just keep, because of course this cocktail dress don't have no pockets. Um,
Tell me, how much are you paying for rent at this building?
Far more than we should be, I would admit, I think. Dr. Douglas says. It's
Interesting.
it makes sense. Don't get me wrong. It's just uh, eh, we're on the highway. We're on a major road. We're the first thing people see when they need instant care. But for some reason, it's just not thriving like it should. And maybe it is that we need a social media presence. Maybe it is that we need some kind of big name doctor. What did you say her name was?
we just call her Doc, but her name is. I think it'd actually be better if she told you that.
Okay.
Hmm.
She's kind of a shy one, and as such, I think it would be better if she was introduced to you personally.
It would have been great if she were here.
I know, but
Unfortunately, not possible.
yeah,
And I understand that
life
personal
has a
emergencies happen.
life has a tendency to get in the way sometimes, you know?
Tomorrow night,
But
then?
what do you think, Amber? Tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night. I think that this is something that we could do. Given my expertise with the social media side of things, I would be more than willing to help you out with that immediately, and we can set up a meeting tomorrow night so that you may meet meet Doc for yourself. I know Dr. Anderson has. In fact, I believe she was of major assistance last night with a rather urgent thing that required some assistance.
Yeah, and Travis looks over to Greg and says, she was an expert. I swear it's as if she works magic. I couldn't tell you exactly what's going on there, but she was definitely helpful in a very grievous wound that needed to be taken care of and stabilized before we could send this individual off to the emergency room. And Greg kind of looks over to Travis and says, All right. I would definitely want to see her skills for myself, but that's that's a glowing recommendation just off the street. Uh, that's unheard of. That's not usually something that we usually allow, but it's a good thing she was there in the nick of time then.
Yeah, life has a funny way of doing that sometimes, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it does. Well, uh, then I suppose what we're looking at is a case where you become investors with a delayed payout.
Hmm. That is. It seems like that is what we are looking at. Yes.
And an active role in the direction of the business, not a silent
Correct.
partner.
Correct. Well, I mean, we are offering the talent, but as far as we are concerned, we can keep some silent logistical management in the background and not worry too much about the overall direction of the business. You two have been doing well so far. There's no reason to mess up a good thing, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I suppose so. All right. We can head back to the office and get my lawyer on the line and see if we can drum up some paperwork.
I think that would be wonderful.
And it's about that time that food arrives.
Hmm.
And Greg
Oh, and
Greg
sorry.
will continue to go over with you some of the financial logistics and other mundane needs that they would need, and what he would kind of expect out of us out of the social media and
Velda actually pulls a notepad out from her bag and she starts taking notes.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, dear. I forgot to pack one of those with me. And yeah, no, going over the financial logistics and talking about this, but
But it seems that for the moment you have an agreement that that Greg and Travis are won over by you two lovely ladies. Amber specifically. They generally keep their eye on you.
And I bet Travis does very much so.
He
This
tries
is
not to make
Amber's rodeo.
he tries not to make it apparent, but he's occasionally, when you say something fetching, his cheeks do blush a little.
I bet they do. But no, we'll talk about things like that and talk about the financial logistics and have the food and make sure to get out of there before the hour is up.
Mm-hmm.
Because, well, I mean, you're not going to get a lawyer at like 9, 10 o'clock at night, most likely.
No, he's likely going to have to call them in the morning.
In the morning. Mm-hmm.
And once dinner is over, Travis and Greg give you their pleasant goodbyes.
Yes.
It was a pleasure meeting you both. And Velda would extend a hand for a handshake.
And they both would shake your hands.
Likewise. And she'd shake, also hold her hand out for a handshake to shake both their hands.
And they do.
I look forward to working with you gentlemen in the future.
And
Yes.
with that, the two of them settled themselves to leave.
And after they leave, B will most likely leave as well, as Amber's gonna need to get back to the Haven because she said she would meet up with Urian after the meeting.
Well done, Amber Dupree.
Why, thank you. I figured to bring you along because of the fact that this is going to require a large expenditure of resources. Unfortunately,
That you don't currently have.
yeah, Ashley being Ashley
That's
Kinda left
exactly
me
what I thought.
left me a little in the lurch. Not that I don't have plans to, of course, fix that. But it's when you're between the rock and the hard place that we currently are, it's not as easy.
I figured
But-
that you would need a financial backer, Amber. That is fine. It's exactly what I expected. I'm thinking it might be an idea to get in touch with the one who owns the property that these doctors are currently in.
Oh,
See if we can't
oh,
find
yes.
out their rental payments. See if we can't talk their payments down very slightly and increase the value of the property.
Yes, I think that might be an idea. I mean, I'm thinking of going a little further and actually just acquiring the entire building. Because, well,
That's an idea. But
one step
why
at a
don't
time.
you leave that why don't you leave that to me? It fits right in my portfolio at present.
Well,
And it wouldn't
that is the
draw
thing.
any excess attention to you.
Then I think that'll be a thing that we will go ahead and do. You are right in that
Perfect.
extra attention doesn't bode well. But no, I'm going to trust you with this, but we're going to head back to my haven very quickly as I need to get changed and meet up with Mr. Doyle. And unfortunately, a cocktail dress is not the thing to be going and gallivanting
Not the
about
thing
in.
to going. I have a spare change of clothes in my bag.
Yes, I forgot.
I
to
don't
bring
go
my-
anywhere without them these days.
Yes, that and well, I suppose in the 45 minutes or so before, we both must kneel before a goddess of porcelain, and I'm not talking about either of us.
Oh. This is one thing I thought that I would never have to do again when I was first changed. Oh, how wrong I was.
Yes, and how? Yeah, no. You and I thought kind of along the same lines there, and nope.
It was like
As I said-
eating sludge.
Oh,
Mm.
it tasted so foul.
I know, right? It probably would have been nice if we had any taste buds left.
Was it my imagine, or was it my imagination, or were you exchanging eyes with one of those gentlemen?
Oh, you noticed that, did you? Yes, well, you see, upon setting up the meeting, I took some extra precautions to make sure that it would go smoothly.
Well thought. Be careful with that, though. They can turn a little stalkery.
Hmm. No, it's why I've only given him the one. I
Amber,
don't wanna.
you're very familiar with the fact that people get really stalkery about you. Your DMs are always flooded with people who say they know your address.
Yes, and the thing is, if they did know my address, they would be met with a knife.
That's very creepy.
You've met a couple in your day that have, in fact, found you.
Yes, but back then I didn't have knives. Now I have knives. And, well, stand my ground laws and all of that. How wonderful it is, hmm?
Hmm.
Shall we?
Yes, I think we shall. And, after getting changed and hocking up the blood and ash,
Mm. Yes.
Speaking of
getting,
which, where exactly do you do that?
as I said, we were going back to My Haven to, so that there would be, at the very least, a sink or a toilet.
You would know, having spent a half hour at the restaurant eating alone, you wouldn't get very far. You'd likely chuck that up in your car before you got home.
Oh, oh boy. Um, well, we're looking
Pull
for a
over at a
park. And-
public park?
yeah,
for a public
park,
toilet?
public toilet.
I would like you to make me a wits plus awareness.
Wits awareness.
Whoever wants to
Um,
pilot it, and then +1 for assistance if you have dots.
Yep. Where are we in the? Where are we in the domain right now? Is like, would we have lane on this?
You would be. Let's see, where would you be? You would be in. Oh, I just cut out my music. Oops. Because I accidentally hit the back button on my mouse.
Whoops.
You
I know
would,
what that
Thank
feeling
heavens
is
for a
like.
broadcast account. Thank heavens for a broadcast account.
you wouldn't be in Sanctuary.
No,
You'd be
okay.
outside of it.
All right, so yeah, I'm rocking. Would be a 5 with that +1. How about
No,
How about you?
actually, you would be in Sanctuary because I remember now. The clinic was in Sanctuary, and this restaurant is fairly like on the edge of Sanctuary.
Sanctuary? Okay. So that would be 8 then. Do you have a higher dice pool?
No,
No?
my dice pool
Alright,
would be
well.
exactly the same.
Alright. Then
Alright.
it's a
Wits awareness
wits
+1
awareness.
plus lane.
Yep. Which is +4. That's 6.
Yeah, you know where the nearest one is. That would be out of the way, long enough for, and discreet enough that no one would really come looking. And by the time they did, they would discover that it's simply dried blood. It's not vitae.
Yes. And I mean, we'd be making sure to cover up any evidence.
Mm.
Because, well,
Velda tries to keep things clean.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay.
we're grateful when we're throwing up, even when we're throwing up foods. That's the way of the Toreador.
Exactly. And so, you make your way back towards the meeting place. Yes?
Hmm.
Or were you meeting Urian somewhere else?
Well, Amber said that she'd be meeting up with him once they were done, and they've probably gone to the address that Urian gave to Amber to give to the others
Mm.
to move forward into searching the airport.
Mm.
So, like doing the airport stuff.
Okay. So in the meantime, what have you been doing, Urian? You've been gathering the Thin Bloods, but was there anything else that you were doing in regards to that?
Yes, I am studying the maps. I've already written the ways of the ley lines. I know that one is nearby the airport. That is my primary interest. And I am curious to end up seeing on what it is they are working with. I also have a few thoughts on who I may be encountering. At this point, I'm having a bit of a chat with Alfonso.
Mm.
Truth is that I probably would have preferred to have met him under better circumstances, but no sense wasting time by making these separate occasions. Right now, outside of Benji himself, these three are the most dangerous sort in the physicality department. Hopefully Doc has come strapped.
You'd know by now she doesn't go anywhere without some kind of security blanket, i.e. a Glock.
Good. Let us just assume all hell breaks loose and prepare ourselves accordingly. Now, that being said, I'm making sure that they have several separate vehicles.
There's the vehicle that Benji's driving, there's the van that you're driving, and everybody's kind of gathered together at this point.
Good. Mr. Hendrik, so good that you have arrived. And my child.
They all kind of smile at you.
Alfonso, tonight, depending on how it goes, I may have to incur something.
Incur something? What do you mean?
Yes. Amongst my upbringing, there was something very important to keep in mind whenever discussing another kindred. That is who that kindred's relations were. Tell me, did your sire ever mention anything above himself? Where your grandsire came from, where their sire before them came? Was this ever discussed?
He's only ever in regards to that, only ever really said that his line goes back to the founding of San Antonio, and maybe even to the Alamo. I'm not sure.
A lot further than that.
How would you know?
I would know because I'm a lot older than that.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I kind of expected something like that, but I don't know what you're getting at.
No, you don't. That's why I'm informing you as of right now.
Oh.
There's a little bit of notoriety when it comes down to your particular bloodline. Thin as it may be in your veins, comes in the blood of one we know as Tyler. Are you familiar with this name?
I think Randy's mentioned it once or twice.
Yes, very important individual in these nights. Word is that she is currently on her way to Dallas.
Dallas.
Yes.
Tyler, that's a big name amongst Anarchs, right?
That's a very big name, and one who you share particular blood with.
You're kidding, right?
No. And the expectation is that you can be just as much of a Hellraiser as Tyler ever was.
But
And
I'm not even real kindred.
Never say that again in my presence.
Sorry.
I have done everything I could to make sure that the Thin Bloods were placed in care as any other clan and held to the same regards. Am I mistaken in doing so?
No. That's
Good.
not what I was getting at. It's just, thin-blooded and everything.
Thin blood of the right blood.
I've heard some horror stories.
I can tell you quite a few. You would know the massacres that have been done in Tyler's name. I'm counting on that particular bit of reputation. So when it's brought up, I'd suggest you not be shy about it.
Duly noted.
But for all I know, the night will run incredibly smoothly and it will never be brought up at all. One can hope. We'll be going here. I point to the map. This is a particular place of interest to me. I am expecting it to run into some opposition. Keep things quiet. If they get loud, do not end up making more of a scene than you have to.
Right. So wait,
If any-
we're going to that lake just above the airport?
Mm-hmm. That is correct. Multiple vehicles in case we need to make a getaway. But the reason you're all here is because at this point, everyone's become stagnant. I want the momentum working in our favor. They have a new piece on the board, potentially more. But that will slow as news reaches Dallas. Dallas will not wish to end up sending more Camarilla, especially those worthwhile, directly towards San Antonio when the legendary Tyler is upon her way.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a smart move. And
No.
and there's truth to that?
To your lineage, it is assured.
Okay.
Don't get cold feet on me now, killer.
No cold feet. It's just curious. Why Randy wouldn't say anything.
No, you wouldn't. But we're about to turn what was once considered an embarrassment to an advantage. They don't see you as a threat, Alfonso. Benji is a threat. Carlos is a threat. Shelly is a threat. I am a figurehead with threats all below me. You, on the other hand, have an advantage. By your very nature, you will be underestimated, and that has cost many kindred dearly.
So kind of play into that.
Very much so. Come, let us depart. We're burning moonlight.
Are we waiting for Amber and Velda or no?
No. This must be done quickly and preferably quietly. If we wait for them, well. Do you believe any of them are capable in a gunfight?
I haven't seen so much as that, so I probably wouldn't expect it.
Good. They have more important matters. They're currently solidifying your hold upon that little piece of domain. making sure it is prepped for your perusal. Honor their work and show that you can do the heavy lifting as well.
Can do. And so,
Go ahead.
no, go ahead. You were gonna say something.
No, Urian was just gonna get going at that point, so.
All right, and I was about to say the same thing. So, the 5 of you make your way towards a lake. And this lake is definitely well lit. It's near the airport. Not far off, but near it. Called Oak Grove. It's a fairly small lake. It's an urban lake. There are lights all around. You can see the buildings of the city on the horizon. You can see the night sky and the trees. What's left of the leaves on the trees, anyway. As yellowing and green as they might be, they could be brown tomorrow. It's a little chilly, and it's rainy.
That's good. It obfuscates what we're about to do.
So what do you do?
I begin to sense the unseen. I am looking for signs of the ley lines themselves. Here at the study, I'm also looking for other individuals who might be of interest. I have no doubt I am not alone here.
Go ahead and roll it for me.
And this is where Derek dice come into effect. Since the unseen. And 2. Not terrible. I'm pretty sure this won't be subtle at the very least.
You don't see anything of note. Aside from this place, compared to everywhere else in San Antonio, seems a little devoid of any apparition presence. You saw lots of them, lots of figments and fragments at the Alamo. There were many of them drawn to that place. This almost has a bit of the opposite effect. You don't see anything, at least on the surface of everything, that would indicate that the ley lines are near the surface in this location at all.
Then I suppose I must go deeper. Which is fine. That is a simple enough point. Watch the top. And Urian removes his coat. Double checks the area around him before he starts walking towards the waters.
You do hear a familiar older voice kind of calling out to you. Going for a dip, Mr. Doyle.
He stops. Now there is a voice I did not expect to hear, especially on my little excursions, Mr. Della Rosa.
It's fantastic to see you tonight, Baron. It's a little chilly to be going out for a dip, don't you think?
Not at all. I find such things refreshing. Though I very much doubt that's the reason that you're out here. I'm actually shocked to end up seeing you out here. This did not seem to be your scene.
I heard rumor that you paid a visit to the Alamo the other night.
You heard correctly. And if I am to understand this, then you assumed my intent and arrived here. So
Yes.
you must have been waiting for some time, assuming that one night I would arrive.
I was beginning to wonder.
Well, it's good to have friends who are concerned. But I would be also concerned for you, Mr. Della Rosa. You, after all, are in uncharted territory right now. It leaves me to wonder of your safety, being so close to Camarilla.
Yes, well, I feel I don't have anything to worry about should they decide to crash the party. That is the phrase, isn't it?
So I'm told. But, nevertheless, you waited for me. Urian kind of raises his hand to let everybody just know that to keep an eye out. And as he steps forward to Lucia Della Rosa. So, how might I be of service to you this evening, Mr. Della Rosa?
I'm curious. Just curious. It's rare to see a Tremere in action. Seeing as we have so few in this city.
Yes, it would be a shame to lose another one this evening.
It would. It'd be a real shame.
And yet,
That's why I'm here.
you've come to look over my personal well-being.
Can't let
Lucia.
one of the barons of this city go trouncing off by himself.
Well, I keep good company for more mundane measures.
Certainly.
But I am curious. You've approached. You've come to end up seeing me in action. You're not too concerned about your own well-being, however. One such as you should not be thrown away so lightly, so close to the front lines. I would never ask that of you.
And I have no doubt that I am in good hands. Thing is, there's plenty of you here.
I'm sure. Well, if you were to join me, after all. He takes 2 steps and then stops. Looks to Shelley as though he needs to explain this. Don't worry, Doc. Hypothermia and oxygen deprivation stopped being a concern of mine long time.
Well, yeah. Okay. It doesn't get too cold here in San Antonio in the winter anyway, and it's fall.
Yes, but I'm not intending to swim. I'm intending to walk. And I start making my way about knee deep in before I stop. I hope you brought a spare change of clothes at the very least, Mr. Della Rosa. I have to be quite thorough.
It is also raining, and I see that all of you forgot umbrellas as well.
Well, umbrellas are large, bulky, attract more attention.
As the rain will pass very soon, I'm sure. Anyway, and he goes to take off the large coat that he has on, his ascots, and all of the little bits and bobs that he has on.
He kind of looks to Carlos and like that little look of help the man, don't embarrass yourself.
And Alfonso nods and goes to assist Lucio. And after a moment, the Nosferatu is just in a shirt and pants and begins to walk towards the lake with you. You didn't happen to bring a light, did you?
It has never been required.
Ha. Well, I forgot to bring such things. Oh well.
Shamefully, I am unaware of any torch we can bring underwater. Still, plenty of light upon the surface. Don't kick up too much mud and it should be fine. Urian keeps stepping into the water and waits for, or continues to go about and submerges himself. Not so much as a dive, so much as he just continues to walk. So, water has never been a concern.
And Lucio follows you in.
I'm looking for 3 things. First, evidence that of the ley lines themselves. Second, I'm looking for evidence that we're not the only interlopers to look upon this. Third, any places that where one may hide themselves amongst the lake. It's always good to have an emergency haven, perhaps a small cave or perhaps a shelter of debris, a sunken boat or something along that lines beneath the waves.
And this is a fairly large lake. It's not huge by any means, but it's fairly large for an urban lake.
Yes.
And so you go into the water and walk for probably 10 minutes. Even though fatigue and everything are never anything that you have to worry about, the fact that you're walking in water is still difficult to trudge through sometimes, especially because the dirt is kind of soft. You and Lucio's not far behind you, and so the thing that you're looking for is evidence that the ley lines come anywhere close to the surface here. I would like another Sense the Unseen roll.
Ooh, that'll work. 5 successes. And I'm not too worried about Masquerade Breach underwater.
It's almost as if you snarl audibly in the water, and Lucio kind of takes that as a cue that you've found something, seeing his speech isn't terribly doable down here, and you see a glint in the dirt. You see a glint of something that's supernatural, something of a glow, something that only really appears on your supernatural senses, and so you leap in the water from your walking point, and you begin to swim far faster than anyone mortal should be able to swim. But you move quickly, and you move supernaturally, and Lucio follows behind you, and he seems to fall behind a bit, but you arrive quickly. This little glint at the bottom of the water here, the bottom of the lake. You look up, and it's pretty dark down here. Aside from this little glint in your supernatural senses, you hardly see anything but the surface.
Oh, thankfully I have an answer for that, as my eyes begin to glow.
And the mud that you've kicked up is substantial at this point, but you see it. You see that little bit that just pokes out in the dirt. Something almost electric looking. You get close, and you start to feel as if your eyes are straining to see, even though you have your eyes of the beast activated and your eyes are glowing. It's almost as if your vision is suppressed. Like the vision in your eyes is being plucked out of them.
Would this aid? Does this help me understand the nature of this way line?
It helps you perhaps understand this point of it, because when you were at the Alamo and underneath it looked very similar. It kind of felt very similar, except at the Alamo is maybe a little bit more muted, or maybe more intense. You're not sure. You know that if you were to reach out and touch it, you would likely get the same reaction, that it would repel you, that it would hurt you.
I caution Lucio to not approach it too closely, and I begin to follow it. I'm just following it along see where it goes, see if it manifests further to the surface, becomes more prominent, or if this is as close to the surface as it becomes. Perhaps there is a underground network, something. But I am studying it, and I am studying the area around it. It's a fact. This place was devoid compared. I wonder if the ley line has any effect upon it. Curiouser and curiouser.
You look around the immediate area around you. You've kicked up a little bit of mud, but you look around with your supernatural sights, and in the immediate area, this seems like the only place where it kind of peaks up in the sand. You get a sense that if the sand was dug into a bit more, that you would find a place where you might find it and accidentally touch it, much like you did in the rock wall of the underneath the Alamo. You start to piece together that if the tales are true, that sleeping near such things causes the beast to be a little less prevalent as you wake, that perhaps these pockets where it's devoid are what you're looking for. It seems as if there's no wildlife in the lake that are nearby anywhere. It doesn't seem like, and and you notice that looking at the ground, there's hardly any vegetation in this place. It seems to be devoid of mortal life when it gets close. Not not to a great distance, but definitely close by. You can feel it.
Perhaps that is what I need to start looking for then. Start looking for more signs, perhaps spots where it just suddenly becomes barren.
Mm.
I wonder, there's a power. Lucio de la Rosa uses such a thing to maintain his existence. And one is under this lake. I presume there must be another location, or maybe another kindred nearby. I'm going to continue to search the depths a little bit more, study the area. I'd take notes if it was possible to do so, but I'm taking as many mental notes as possible. And
Lucio's also keeping his eye out as well. So if you want to make a uh, resolve, wits or resolve, plus awareness, -1 for the lack of sight, the lack of
this is including Lucio's bonus, so Lucio's bonus makes it the -1.
Lucio's bonus makes it a +1, and then at a -1 for
So no modifiers.
unless you have heightened senses.
I believe I will. Or no, I cannot. So
You walk the depths. You you don't really see any indication that there's been any other disturbance here aside from your foot tracks that you see in the mud that do kind of wash away a little bit with the undercurrent. But there's really no other signs of quote life here aside from yourself, unless you get farther away from the that little supernatural glow. Then the vegetation and the wildlife start to appear again in small amounts, but as you continue further, it starts to that's what you see.
it continues to grow out, and so seems to be to my understanding, this seems to be the high point, the place where it is closest and able to be studied.
In this location, yes.
Very well then. I've been doing a bit of research, a lot of planning for this trip. Now I know its exact location, how far away from the airport it is, where it is found, where it is located. And there's been no evidence of anybody else trying to find it, yes?
Not so far as you can see.
More's the pity. Well, I will like to call upon my occult research upon the way lines and see what I can learn from it. How can I use it? It is a powder that is right beside the Camarilla. It has to be harnessed or used in some way.
Okay. You can make me a resolve plus occult.
I am willing to spend the blood.
Okay. Forcing yourself to really dig into your mind and try and fit the pieces together. Your beast is loud in the back of your mind.
And I will review one.
That voice of Urian Doyle in the back of your mind is getting angry that you haven't fed, getting angry that Lucio's right there. Or Benji, or Carlos, or Doc, or Alfonso. Any one of them would do, but drink them whole.
You want to end up finding someone, you find the Camarilla. You want to end up feeding, I will end up gorging upon those Camarilla who end up coming into my city, who wish to end up laying claim to my domain. Make them pay. Rip them limb from limb and see their drained husk in torpor as an example.
Exactly. Do it to Kyle. He's the one that deserves it the most.
Take back the blood. Perhaps it's not a bad idea.
Ooh,
But
you
right
like
now-
that, wouldn't ya? Taste of Ventru?
Taste of my own great-grandchild. No, not right now. I try and focus back to what I can. Though the blood is difficult at this time.
You start putting the pieces together. You start delving into your own mind, into Urian's mind, Urian's memories, what Jock has taught him about the occult. Though it wasn't terribly much, there was a lot of interest in the supernatural effect of the Earth's natural pulse. The blood vessels of the world, as it were. And you remember him talking about sinkholes. Sinkholes are where the energy of the world is just sucked in and sucked dry, and big events tend to have things drawn to them like this. There's artifacts like that do this. There's pockets in the ley lines that do this. There's a number of things that draw in energy. What it's used for, you're not 100% positive. Urian's a neonate, or was a neonate, in the Camarilla Chantry. in Jackson. You don't have the kind of knowledge that is needed to know exactly what they're used for, but you've seen 2 instances of sinkholes at this point. You know that for a fact.
Yes.
That ghosts are drawn in, that energy is just sucked from the area around it, and it looks dead and devoid. And repels mortal life.
And yet slows the degradation.
It slows the degradation, as it would seem.
My frustrations are starting to boil over, but I try to remain somewhat composed as I start to gesture towards the surface to Lucio della Rosa.
And while the hunger feels a little distant, like the voice is just tickling the back of your mind right now, you know that as soon as you go to the surface, it's going to feel louder.
Yes, I'm
It's
sure.
going to distract you far more.
I am. No, it must be done. I start to walk back to shore, using the lights of the city upon the water's reflection above as my guide. And I will approach, get out of the water. I will speak with Della Rosa and the others. We're going to find a kindred. We're going to find ourselves a Camarilla.
And Lucio follows you out of the lake. You're probably about a good 50 feet from the others when you come out at the surface, as you got possibly a little turned around. But you see that Benji, Doc, Carlos, and Alfonso are all waiting at the vehicles.
Kick off the mud from my boots. That confirms some of my suspicions.
Oh, really?
Yes. I suspect that there are other locations throughout the city that also have way lines. I would argue that perhaps the city itself may be crafting them. A theory for another time. But this... Yes, I can see it. I can certainly see it.
Not entirely sure what it is you saw, as I saw nothing.
The way lines pop up in the middle of the lake. That place devoid of life. It drains life. Where does it go? Is that important now? I look across the bay, closer to the airport, that bastion of Camarilla influence that has started to bleed my city to like a tick.
You can also hear planes taking off and landing nearby. They're fairly loud from time to time. So what is your interest in the ley lines, Mr. Doyle?
In
What do you
order
intend to do?
What do I intend to do? I intend to understand every advantage offered to me in ousting the Camarilla. And if the ley line can assist me in that, then it shall be so. As of right now, perhaps I am wasting my time.
Wasting your time.
It requires research that I do not have access to. Chantry would be required just to end up looking for adequate knowledge to piece together what I have.
Sadly, a chantry does not exist in the Anarch movement.
No. But I do intend to... I have to apologize, Mr. De La Rosa. I am otherwise distracted at this exact moment. I think it is time to go hunting. What appropriate location to be for such things.
I have a library. I've been doing such research myself. However, I'm not able to see them. I know their existence. I know that they are.
But you chose to reveal this information now. I'm presuming that there is a cost to such a trove of knowledge.
I've been intending to keep it a secret.
But right now you need to keep your city first.
Exactly. This is my city, after all.
That it is.
And Urian, when he says that, it just irks you the wrong way.
Yes, it does. But I'm not foolish enough to tackle what is effectively an elder out on his own. One of the few in the city. He might be a young elder compared to those in the old country, but nevertheless, his age requires respect. I would greatly appreciate if I and my students, or at least my child, could be blessed to see such a library. And I am sure you wish for something in turn, perhaps grant me to share the knowledge and divulge what these ley lines are capable of.
That would be most grateful.
Then, Lucio de la Rosa, you simply name the time and place, and I will appear.
Since your mind is otherwise occupied tonight, I suppose tomorrow would be better.
Then I look forward to the grand conversation and the wonderful company.
I do hope you take care of yourself.
Right now, I need to end up making a very bold statement. Don't want the Camarilla to suddenly think that I've gotten defensive.
Then meet me at the University of the Incarnate Word tomorrow.
As you wish, Mr. De La Rosa.
I shall see you then. And he begins to walk towards the cars to collect his things. But he doesn't put any of them on, he simply just walks away.
I go towards the van after placing my overcoat on. I look to the others. Benji.
Yeah.
I feel the need to make it clear of our intentions. You said that you knew of a potential new kindred in our domain.
Yeah.
Good. Tonight we hunt.
Fantastic.
I feel the need to taste Camarilla.
Dinner's on me then. And you see this very devilish, very sadistic looking grin go across his face.
Alright. I look about and I try to make sure that I am focused. There is a risk here, but we need to end up taking a look, so we are going to stay in the perimeter just inside Camarilla territory. I'd like to gouge out an eye or two.
Coming to this lake, you know that you're a little bit deep in Camarilla territory. You're surprised that you haven't run across them yet.
Perhaps I already have. Still. Right now, let us commence.
Carlos kind of looks at you and says, "Oh, Amber and Velda say that they're done. Are we meeting up with them first?"
We'll be tell them that I need to pick up the groceries first.
Okay. And he begins to text that exact phrase.
As soon as it's received, that's going to get a rather large laugh from Amber.
Well then.
So, is there anything that you ladies would like to do, or are we continuing to hunt with Urian?
Amber's behind the wheel.
Currently, the only thing to do is to make a call to the building owner and set up an in-person happening.
Yes.
Because
Velda would like to do that.
Yeah, getting them in person so that we may work our charms is really the big thing that we need to do right now. So if you wanna make that a scene, we could do that. Otherwise, I'm good to watch Urian hunt because it's a spectacle to behold.
Well, I don't have anything ready for a scene, so you give me Velda. Give me a high or low.
Hi.
Turns out they are available to meet tonight. However,
Wonderful.
I, as the storyteller, don't have that scene set up. So if you'd like, we can boil this down to a roll.
That would be great.
Yeah, that's fine.
And so this would be a persuasion roll to do what exactly?
Discuss with him the purchase of his building.
The purchase of his building. Okay. That is going to be a slightly difficult roll, but I would allow for manipulation, persuasion, looks, and presence, cannot be applied to this.
Yes.
This is over the phone.
Okay.
So this is just straight up manipulation persuasion.
I hope that went through. Did that go through?
I don't see a roll.
There we go. I didn't add any modifiers to that, so
That's only 3 successes right now, and
can
you
I
have
willpower any of that?
you've got 2.
Yeah, you've got 2.
Then I will
Oh.
take those 2 and I will willpower that.
I want to see some green.
Watch me fuck it up. Oh no, I got a 1.
Okay.
What?
So that's 4 successes. He's willing to talk about it. He's not on board
Perfect.
yet, but he's willing to hear you out, hear out your offer. Because this place is not for sale. He doesn't have it for sale right now. So he's willing to give you an ear, but it's going to be probably a week before he can see you.
Wonderful. If we could set up a date for that meeting, that would be perfect.
And he sets up a date for you for a week's time,
Brilliant.
and you're able to convince him to do it at night.
Sweet.
It's not a bad outcome considering it's like, hey, this building, we want it.
Because the reason that he won't sell right away is because he needs proof that you can buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So, in that case, we're gonna
I would
take-
also like to get in touch with Batista and make an appointment with her whenever she's available.
Okay. Give me another high or low.
Hi.
She's available immediately tonight if you want to go now. Otherwise, if it's not immediately, she'll be busy the rest of the night.
We could put this off until tomorrow night.
Then tomorrow night it is.
Brilliant.
And I think that's where we're going to take a quick break. So, be right back, everyone. We shall return to our coterie momentarily.